Well, very good afternoon, my dear students. I hope you are all fine. So, in this particular class, I will be revising Mother's Day drama written by J.B. Priestley, chapter number 5 from Snapshots. So, hereby, I am about to share the screen with all of you. Dear students, I hope the screen is visible right now to all of you. Please, any one of you can confirm me whether it's visible or not. It is visible to all of you, dear students. Can you all see the screen? Okay, fine. Okay. So,
Yes, sir.
okay. Thank you for your feedback. Now, five important characters are there. Importance of mother in a household. But remember, it's a very serious issue. But J.B. Priestley has highlighted it in a very humorous manner, in a very comic manner. He has highlighted. But remember, underneath the humor, or rather to say, dear students, underneath the comedy, a very important social issue has been highlighted. That are we seriously looking after our mother? Do we care for her? Because the level of work that she does is something that is praiseworthy and that is commendable, highly commendable. Okay, so what are the characters? First of all, Mrs. Pearson, because the narrative of this drama revolves around her character. Okay, Mrs. Pearson. Then her husband, as you know, Pompey Pearson or George Pearson, followed by the daughter, the spoiled girl by the name of Doris. Equally spoilt was the son also by the name of Cyril Pearson, and finally Mrs. Fitzgerald, the next door neighbor. She was the one who actually acted as a catalyst in this particular drama, and she was the one who performed the magic and revived the nature of the other characters and made them realize that what they did was wrong. Okay, okay, just wait a minute. I hope there is someone on the line. Yes, a very good afternoon, Srijani. Welcome to the class. Okay, so I hope it is
Good afternoon, sir.
good afternoon. I hope it is visible, the content, the material. I am revising Mother's Day. Okay, so let us move on. In the scene also, in the scene part also, I won't be discussing the entire thing. Only the important thing. Remember, the action actually takes place in the living room of the Mrs. Pearson's house. Now it is afternoon and the place is comfortably furnished. The living room is beautifully decorated, or you can say it is comfortably furnished also. I am scrolling a bit down. When the curtain rises, it is an afternoon, we can say late afternoon, and obviously see it is early autumn. Autumn season also been mentioned. So now regarding the stage direction, one is at the right and the other is at the left. Mrs. Pearson is at the right, Mrs. Fitzgerald is at the left, and they are sitting opposite to each other or at the small table. So these are the stage direction as we know. There are two teacups and saucers and the cards with which Mrs. Fitzgerald has been telling Mrs. Pearson's fortune. That means not only Mrs. Fitzgerald was a neighbor next door, but also Mrs. Fitzgerald has a hobby. And what was her hobby? We know that she was a tarot card reader, or in other words, we can say she was a fortune teller. And see, there are some difference in their nature also. There are some difference in their characters also. Why? Because see, Mrs. Pearson, she is very pleasant, okay, very pleasant, but worried looking woman in her 40s. She used to be tensed every time. She used to be anxious every time. But Mrs. Fitzgerald, okay, on the other hand, she is very stubborn, okay, then obviously she used to be very hyper also, and her personality was not weak like that of Mrs. Pearson. She had a very strong personality, and apart from that, we found her to be smoking also, and even their tonal voice was also very different. Why? Because Mrs. Pearson, she used to speak in a very soft voice, whereas Mrs. Fitzgerald, she used to speak in a you can say her voice, there was a bit Irish tone we can find in her voice. Okay, So that is all about the character discussion. Because Mrs. Pearson and Mrs. Fitzgerald, the conversation between them, consisted the bulk of this particular drama. And Mrs. Pearson and Mrs. Fitzgerald, dear students, they are the two important characters. Okay. Now I am moving on. The dialogues are very important. Probably J.B. Presley has given the best dialogues to Mrs. Fitzgerald. Okay, as we will move along, and since you know about this drama, Mrs. Fitzgerald has been given the best dialogues. So see this, and that's all I can tell you. Mrs. Pearson, could be a good fortune, could be a bad one. All depends on yourself now. Make up your mind, and there it is. See, tarot card reading session been done, and being our next door neighbor, she knows about the problem that Mrs. Pearson she was facing. So directly she told, because remember one thing, she was very direct, outspoken, very direct. Okay, every time. But Mrs. Pearson, she was calm, submissive, docile, nervous, afraid. But Mrs. Fitzgerald, she was never like this. Their nature, their characteristic traits, it was poles apart from one another. Okay, like North Pole, South Pole, as we can say. Now see, Mrs. Pearson is saying, yes, thank you, Mrs. Fitzgerald. I am much obliged. Obliged means I am very much grateful. I am sure it's wonderful having a real fortune teller living next door. Did you learn that out east too? Okay, now obviously Mrs. Fitzgerald told that as far as I can read your fortune, you don't have a good one, because until and unless you change yourself, until and unless you rectify your mind that yes, I want to be the mistress of the house, I want to be the boss of the family, unless and until you have this sort of a mindset, nothing will happen. They will suppress you, subjugate you, and definitely your family members will take you for granted. Mrs. Pearson, she knew everything. Whatever Mrs. Fitzgerald told was absolutely right, but she can't actually change the mentality of her family members. See, and because it was very difficult for her, considering her calm mentality. Okay, I hope you all know about it. Now she asked Mrs. Pearson, asked Mrs. Fitzgerald that where have you learned this? Did you learn this particular tarot card reading, this fortune telling tarot card reading? Have you learned it in the East? Where have you learned it? Now I am moving on. I am moving on now to page number 34. I did. 12 years I had of it with my old man. Old man here refers to her husband, rising to be the lieutenant quartermaster. So actually her husband was in the defense or in the military, and that was the reason she traveled in the Middle East. She traveled in the Asian countries also, and there only she learned about black magic. She learned about this tarot card reading. She had learned about sorcery also. See, he learned a lot, and I learned a lot more. He also learned regarding the military affairs. I also had learned regarding the sorcery, regarding tarot card reading, regarding all this. Now again, after saying it, she was once again back to the same point. But will you make up your mind now, Mrs. Pearson dear? That means this dialogue shows that despite she used to be like an active volcano in her mentality, in her behavior, she used to be very outspoken, rude many a times, okay, difficult to talk with sometimes, but despite that, whatever wrong, she has the courage to speak up, okay, unless many others. Whatever wrong, she has the courage to speak up against it. And that is the reason, and she considers Mrs. Pearson to be her friend. Okay, that is the reason she is saying that will you make up your mind now, because it's high time that you have to be serious, otherwise your family members will take you for granted. It's high time that you should actually make up your mind. Put your foot down once and for all and be the mistress of your own house and the boss of your own family. You have to be the mistress of your own house, you have to be the leader, you have to be the boss of your own family. but what you have made up yourself to be, you have made up yourself to be the caretaker, to be the slave, to be the servant of your family members. So it's high time that you change your mentality for your own betterment, for your own good. Okay, so up to this it is clear to all of you. Is there any doubt? Shall I move on to the next dialogue? If there is any problem, if you are facing, you can ask me without any hesitation. Is there any doubt? Because ultimately, okay, fine. Because it's a doubt clearing session, so if you have any doubt regarding this chapter, it's a very lengthy drama. So please do ask me. Okay, now see the dialogue of Mrs. Pearson smiling apologetically. That's easier said than done. Besides, I am so fond of them, even if they are so thoughtless and selfish. So this is the mentality of her family members, and Mrs. Pearson correctly defined it, that they are very selfish and thoughtless. They don't care about me. They all take me for granted. But I do love them unconditionally. I repeat one more time. I do really love them unconditionally. I am very fond of them. But I know at the back of my mind they are very thoughtless and selfish. Now Mrs. Fitzgerald, maybe not, but it would be better for them if they learn to treat you properly. But see, the problem is that they don't treat you properly, and you do so much for them. Ultimately, you are the one who is taken for granted. You do so much for your family members. You are very much eager to make them happy. You are very much eager to look after their welfare, to look after their health, to look after what dress they were wearing, to look after the food that they are consuming when they are at home. But ultimately, after doing all these things, what you are receiving at the very end? You are receiving hate. You are receiving a selfish-minded attitude from them. And ultimately, the tragic part is that they all take you for granted. Now, this has to stop. Some point of time, you will be fed up. But despite you are fed up, you don't have the courage to speak up. Okay, that is what Mrs. Fitzgerald is trying to motivate Mrs. Pearson, that what exactly is going on with you is not the right thing. They are also making mistakes, and you also on your part is making a lot of mistakes. Okay, so obviously if they are guilty, you are also to a great extent guilty. Okay, that is what Mrs. Fitzgerald is telling them. See, Mrs. Pearson, yes, I suppose it would in a way. Mrs. Fitzgerald, no doubt about it at all. Who's better for being spoiled, grown man, lad or girl? Who is the one that is the most spoiled one? It is your husband. Or grown man here refers to George Pearson, or whether it is your son or your daughter. Who is the most spoiled one? Nobody. You think it does them good when you run after them all the time, take their orders as if you are the servant in the house? Okay, now do you feel like that whatever you are doing it right? I don't think so, because they have probably considered you to be the caretaker of the house. They have probably considered you to be the servant. Okay, because you stay at home every night while they go out enjoying themselves. You stay at home every night while they go out. Okay, they go out, they enjoy. And what about you? What about your life? They don't care about it. So since they don't care about it, you have to make them understand your importance in the family. You have to make them understand your position in the family. That is what Mrs. Fitzgerald pressurizing was imposing, pressurizing also to make Mrs. Pearson aggressive. She wanted to make her aggressive, but unfortunately and ultimately, you know that her nature is totally opposite in comparison to that of Mrs. Fitzgerald, because Mrs. Pearson, she was very calm and very docile. We all know. See, and I told you that the dramatist has probably given the best lines to Mrs. Fitzgerald, because despite the main character is Mrs. Pearson, but Mrs. Fitzgerald, she act here as the catalyst. She is like a catalyst here. She is the one who initiates and controls the entire drama. Okay, though despite the fact we know that the narrative revolves around the pathetic family life of Mrs. Pearson, but actually the main the main protagonist is none other than Mrs. Fitzgerald, because she is acting here like the catalyst, and she is the one who is controlling the entire drama. Okay, as we will study, and since you all know, because we did it earlier, since you all know about it, that she is the one who actually controls everything, and you will find her to control it even later also. So I hope up to this it is very much clear to all of you. Is there any doubt at the back of your mind? You can ask me, you can share with me if you have any doubts up to this. If not, then we can proceed. Is there any doubt, dear students, up to this? It is clear to all of you? Okay, so I am moving then. See, you think it does them good when you run after them all the time, take their orders as if you were the servant in the house, stay at home every night while they go out enjoying themselves. You stay at home like a caretaker, like a servant, and what about them? They enjoy themselves. They don't bother about you. They don't bother about your likes and dislikes. They don't bother about your happiness. So since they don't bother, they had to be bothered. So in order to make them bother about you, you have to change your mindset. You have to change your mentality. That is the reason why Mrs. Fitzgerald was trying to impose the fact on Mrs. Fitzgerald is trying to impose the fact on Mrs. Pearson that it is high time that you have to rectify your mentality. Okay, because if you don't rectify your mentality, you can't control them. And if it goes on like this, then your life will be more pathetic and they will be out of control. Now see, never in all your life, it's a ruin of them as well as you. That means you are thinking you are doing them good, but let me remind you, you are not doing them any good. They are at a fault, but also your unconditional love and not saying anything to them despite they are making mistakes repeatedly, it's a fault on your part. See now, husbands, sons, daughters should be taking notice of wives and mothers, not giving them orders and treating them like dirt. Yes, this is important. And see, I told you the best lines were given to Mrs. Fitzgerald. Now what she is saying, that husbands, sons, daughters, they should take notice of wives and mothers. They should not giving them orders, and they should not treat their mothers like dirt and dust, like wastage. Okay, like garbage. They should not do that. And don't tell me you don't know what I mean, for I know more than you have told me. This is something very important, because see, Mrs. Fitzgerald is the neighbor next door, so she knows everything. Okay, she knows everything. Probably she knows a lot more also, and that is the reason she is saying that. And don't tell me you don't know what I mean, for I know more than you have told me. You have told me, but remember one thing, I know more than what you have told me, because I know what pain, what suffering you are facing. Now Mrs. Pearson, there is nothing to hide, you know, so I keep dropping a hint. Mrs. Fitzgerald, hint, please underline, dear students, very important. It is more than hints your family needs. Mrs. Pearson, hints, they need something more than that. You have to rectify their mentality, otherwise they will go on becoming more spoilt in the near future, and they won't be actually looking at you. You won't be their cause of concern. They will more take you for granted. So it's time that you put your best foot forward. We say no, that yes, you should lead from the front. That is what Mrs. Fitzgerald is actually trying to say to Mrs. Pearson. So see this, I suppose it is, but I do hate any unpleasantness. Yes, now see what Mrs. Pearson, she was of the opinion that if I go on speaking out my mind to them, ultimately it will create quarrel in the house. Okay, it will create differences in the house. And so much she used to love her family members that she hated any sort of unpleasantness, okay, any sort of unpleasantness, and it's so hard to know where to start. I keep making up my mind to have it out with them, but somehow I don't know how to begin. Now every time mental preparation was being made by Mrs. Pearson, but she doesn't know how to start. Every time she had some preparation in her mind or at the back of her mind that today I will speak up. But when the actual situation arises, when they enter the house, it seems that she was at a loss of words. She doesn't know what to tell or what to say. Oh good gracious, look at the time. And after the conversation, in the middle of the conversation, look at her sense of urgency and look at her fear. This is not love for her family members. This is out and out fear for her family members. She looked at the clock or at her watch and she stood up, and as if that there is a fire break in her house, that she was so urgently busy. See, nothing ready and they will be home any minute, and probably all in a hurry to go out again. And obviously she was behaving as if they are already about to kill her. Okay, she was so scared of them. And this is not genuine love for her family members. This is fear that had been developed in her. And obviously the other family members, they take advantage of this fear that had been incorporated in her. Okay, now see, she is ready, okay, to prepare tea for them, to prepare snacks for them. See, nothing ready and they will be home any minute, and probably all in a hurry to go out again. Yes, I have to be very alert now. I have to prepare this, I have to prepare that, because oh God, nothing is ready. They will come and obviously they will again go out of the house. That means they don't give her any time. Only when they arrive at a time when they are hungry. They arrive at a time when they need some momentary relaxation, and after that they again go out. Okay, this line is a clear indication. Nothing ready, and I highlight, I hope you all can see, nothing ready and they will be home any minute, and probably all in a hurry to go out again, and again they will be in a hurry to go out. So I have to be busy right now. Okay, so I did up to page number 34. I will be dealing with page number 35 in my next class, that is tomorrow. Is there any doubt at the back of your mind, dear students? You can ask me if there is any doubt. Is there any doubt, or is it clear to all of you whatever I discussed, to which part I have discussed? Is there any doubt? Any questions you want to ask me? You can ask. Is there any questions? Is it clear to all of you?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, fine. Okay. So with that I leave the class, thank you all for a patient hearing, and see you all tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you everyone. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you everyone. Thank you.